these in a long time, and I haven't kept true to my promise to myself of making one of these every few weeks, but I don't have as much free time, and I mean, I have a lot to report back on, but that's for if I do another one of these. This is a video I've been wanting to do for I don't like 7 months. It's about a friend of mine. So we all have pets, right? We've all had pets, and our pets are the greatest. Everyone's pet's the greatest. There's no disputing that. Everyone says like, oh, my pet's the greatest. Everyone's pet's the greatest, don't worry. This video is about my friend, my pet. I don't know how many of you have been friends with me, seen my social media, heard me talk about my cat. This is Tess. You remember when I said everyone's pet is the greatest? Tess was the greatest. Tess was also the greatest. Sorry. I've been sitting here trying to figure out how to start this video, you know, and it's just like, it's not easy. Let's just get into it. I met Tess when I was 17. So 2007. Sorry. I met Tess when I was 17. I met Tess in 2007. And she came into my life at a very pivotal time. My parents were getting a divorce. My best friend of 13 years turned his back on me. My first relationship ended about 6 years. My family was in court with the Anchorage School District, and my old cat ran away. I had another cat, his big fluffy black cat. His name was Big Kitty, because I didn't know how to name pets. I didn't really script a whole lot of this, so there's going to be some fumbling and bumbling around. So I guess I should start here. So, like I said, I had another cat, and he ran away, and all this other stuff's going on. And my dad's helping me out, look for my cat, right? He's like taking me to all the shelters. I was 17, I was kind of a late bloomer, I didn't drive yet, whatever. And I remember we'd go to like shelter to shelter, we'd look around our neighborhood. Cut to a few days later, we were at a animal shelter in Anchorage, and sorry. I remember, so we went into the animal shelter, this particular animal shelter. There was the office, or not the office, but like the front counter, right? And then across from it, there were 9 kennels. I remember it was 3 by 3. They were stacked up. They had other like dogs and cats and stuff in the back, but like they had these 9 kennels in the front. And Tess was one of them. Tess was in one of the kennels. She was in the bottom right, I believe it was the bottom right kennel. And her, you know how like they each have like their paperwork on the front, staple or taped to the front of their kennel. It says like, "Hi, my name's Tess. I'm this years old. Well, it didn't say how old she was. They thought maybe she was anywhere from 8 months to a year. So she was really tiny. And I remember distinctly on her paperwork, it said somebody had taken with a pen and then wrote over it with a Sharpie, and they wrote, "Is a lap cat." And they weren't kidding. Like she was definitely a lap cat. And of course I was looking around for my old cat, right? Well, this is hard. Every time I'd come to the shelter, I'd go see Tess, right? And I'd say hi to Tess. I'd say, I'd poke my finger in all the kennels. I'd sanitize between each one too. Don't worry. But I kind of took a liking to Tess, and each time me and my dad went, we went and seen her. We went and saw her. She was one of the. I'd see her before I left, right? I talked to the front counter and see like what cats they've had come in, and then on my way out, I'd say bye to Tess. Well, after a couple of weeks of looking, I said to my dad one night, "I think I want Tess." So he and I went to the shelter next morning, right when it opened. We were actually waiting. We were actually waiting outside in his truck, waiting for the shelter to open, right? And the doors unlock, and we go in, and her kennel's empty, which is concerning. Because she's a cat, and she's been there a few weeks. Animal shelters tend to like cycle through cats, especially. It's sad, but I can begrudgingly understand why they do it. Tess wasn't in her kennel though, and my dad and I went to the front counter. My dad was the first to speak, and he said, "Do you know where do you know where that cat is? That the one that was in that kennel?" And the lady goes, "Why?" And we're like, "We'd like to adopt her." And the lady at the counter stops what she's doing. She kind of backs off, and she takes her walkie-talkie, and she's like, "I'll be right back." And then she starts talking into it really frantically, and she runs into the back room. A few minutes later, they have me and my dad come back in. Usually they don't let people come in, but for some reason they were letting us in. And Tess is on a silver operating table, and they were gonna put her down, like within a minute. So So they let me pick her up, and at that point, I feel like a little kid again. Like I'm 6 foot at this point in my life. I'm 6 feet tall, and I match my dad in height just about. But I feel like I'm way down here, and I'm holding this cat, and I remember I held her on her back like you would, like a baby, and I remember like one of the ladies was like tearing up, and I remember my dad asked like, "Is that the one you want?" Right after he said that, I looked down, and Tess is kind of like, she's like stretching her neck out, towards me, and so I lean in, I get close to her, and she starts licking my nose. So that won my heart right there. And so with that little story out of the way, now you know our origin story. And Tess would grow to become someone I ran to for everything. She came to me whenever I'd cry. She'd be there in the driveway when I'd come home. She would just like sit in the driveway waiting for me to come back. I don't know if that's just what she did all day. But what else? She'd make a nest in my hair. She'd always like fall asleep on my chest, or in my lap, or in my hair, or on the pillow next to me. So I always woke up with her close by. And she just became a really good friend of mine. Well, I could go into different stories about our little adventures, about like just cute shit that we used to do. I don't know. She was just with me, just constantly. And so fast forward to 2019. I'm watching TV one night, right? Or one day. It was daytime. And I'm watching TV, and Tess comes in through her dog door. I'm living in Soldotna at this point. And Tess comes into my through the dog door, and usually she just like comes to me or goes up to her room. When she came in the dog door this time, she just kind of like collapsed, and she I'd look over, I was just like, what are you doing over there? And I didn't think much about it. And so I finish up my show, because I'm watching TV, and I finish up my show, and then I go over to say hi to her. She's still, 15 minutes later, she's still by the door, and she's just kind of like, just sprawled out. And I start petting her, and I pick her up, and she's like really limp, and she won't stand up. So, I give my mom a call. I tell her that, like, Tess is acting weird. She's not eating or drinking. She's limping. She's not sitting up right. We take her into the clinic, and we find out that she's genetically diabetic. So that's something I never knew. And she she had a bunch of like lab work done. Her eyes were starting to get really glossy. We took her home, and over the next 5 days, I didn't sleep much because each day she was just getting worse. And she would just collapse. Like she was just lifeless. You'd see her breathe a little bit, and she'd hardly blink. I tried syringe feeding her water, keeping her warm, wrapped up in blankets and towels, and it was just really hard because somehow I knew it was coming, and I really, I didn't want it to come. So I didn't sleep much for those 5 days. And I did fall asleep one afternoon, and I woke up, and Tess was nowhere in the house. She was, I was like, she was upstairs, and I didn't think that she went downstairs because she was having I saw her go up and downstairs, and she just couldn't do it. So I was like, there's no way she went downstairs, right? She was nowhere upstairs. So I looked downstairs, and the only thing I can think of is she's outside. She's outside, and she's just doing what animals do, where she's probably looking for like a porch to crawl under and die, because that's just what they do. Or maybe a tree, or under in a bush or something. So I'm outside and I'm in tears. I'm looking for my cat. That's just, she's gone into diabetic shock, and I can't find her anywhere. And my mom doesn't live very far away, and she comes over and she helps me look. And I'm really exhausted, and finally I work myself up so hard that I just pass out. When I wake up, my mom's hovering over me, and she says, come downstairs with me. So her and I go downstairs, and Tess is drinking. She's downstairs, and she's by her water bowl, and she's drinking. And that's one thing about Tess, is that, like, she always comes back. Like, I just know she's always coming back. And she came back again. And I'm just so glad she did. Because if that's how things ended between her and I would have lost my shit. This way I can have closure. Later that night, I'm laying on the floor with her, her and I just stay up all night and we're just talking. I'm just talking to her. And sorry, your throat's choking up. And we're just talking all night and just remembering times and brushing her and trying to keep her warm. I don't know. And we were up all night. Neither one of us slept. She kept trying to get up. She tried to stand up, but she would just collapse. And her fur was all matted, and she just usually she's very well kept. Like she's just really well kept, and I'm always brushing her, and I don't think she's ever had a knot in her fur. But she's just all mangy at this point, and she just does not look like Tess. Her eyes are glossy. Her meow is just totally different. It almost sounds like really cracky. It's like it almost hardly comes out of her. She just does not have a voice, and she won't drink. She won't eat. She's going to the bathroom all over where I have her, and I'm having to change her towels that she's sleeping on. And so morning comes, and it was about 6 or 7 a.m. and she starts making this horrible sound. I recorded it. I recorded part of it, and I can't, it's on my Instagram. I can't listen to it anymore. Every time I listen to that sound she was making, it was just horrible. I cry. And it was right there and then I was thinking oh my God, she's in pain. She's in pain. So after 5 days of this, I was trying to see how long I could last, and how long she could last, and also how long I could last too, I guess. I was trying to see if we could make it through the week, maybe, there's nothing really you can do for, a pet with diabetes that's so far, that's so, it's gone on this long. She's so late into it. I didn't even know. So I still to this day have a lot of survivor's guilt about maybe I should have noticed it. She's never shown any. She's always been she's always had a lot of vitality. And so I've just never seen it, I guess. I don't know. The symptoms she was showing also kind of, the vet didn't say anything about this, but I looked it up, and the symptoms she was showing also would point to feline AIDS. So I don't know. So I texted my mom and I said, I think today's the day. I asked my mom for a ride to the clinic because I'm not going to be able to drive myself to or from, because I know it's about to happen. my mom comes up and picks me up and takes me to the clinic. And we go in. We go in and I've got Tess wrapped up. We go in and at first they inject her with, I don't know what it's called, but it's something to like really like sedate her and calm her. And basically it's like the prelude to euthanizing a pet. You know, they give them like a first injection, they let that settle, and they leave the room for a few minutes, and they give me and Tess some privacy. And I was just, I didn't have anything to say. Like, sorry, I'm choking. I didn't have anything to say. Like, I didn't really know what even to say. I was just like, you know, just petting her and just trying to not think about it, even though it was minutes away. And fuck. She could. Sorry. The doctor comes in and without asking if I was ready, just said like, can you put her up on the counter, please? And without that, you know, my first thought, honestly, was to just stand up and get the fuck out of the clinic and just run with her. And just run away. That was my first thought. But I'm looking down. Sorry. I'm looking down and I'm seeing my best friend. And I just want it to end. Like, you know, she's in pain. She's in pain. So I put her up on the table. And shortly thereafter, he sticks it in her leg and pushes it down. And so I'm in shock. Okay, I'm in shock. And I don't even know what to say. My mom's in the room with me, and the doctor, and Tess is on the table. And I soon realized that I need to leave the room. He asked if I want if I want to keep the towel. I was just, the first answer I could think of was no. And I stand up, and I extend my hand, and I just tell the doctor, I say thank you, and then I leave. And I go to the car, and I just sit in the car, and I try to like think of what just happened. So I'm in the car. I'm in the car. My mom comes out a few minutes later. She was really nice to drive me there and drive me home. And neither of us said anything on the way back to my place. She dropped me off, and the only thing she said was, call me tonight, or call me later, or something of that nature. She says like, text me or call me or something. And I go inside, and I don't know. I go into my house, into my apartment, and I don't recognize it. I don't recognize my home anymore. And I just go to bed. I just took some sleeping pills, and I went to bed. So I don't know. I was hoping making this video would help. It's been almost a year, and it was April 29th, 2019, and it's so weird not to have her follow me around anymore. She would just always follow me, like, it feels like not having a shadow, you know? It feels very, I don't know, like, okay, let me just breathe. So, you know, when like you have like a child, it feels very unnatural to outlive them, right? It's just so weird not to have her around, like to see her. She would just like creep around the whole house, like, and I still, like, this still happens to this day, but not as much as when like the first few months after her passing. I'd see, like, I would think, like, I don't know, like, my mind would play tricks on me, and like, I thought I saw her over there, and I look, and it's like, oh, it's just a pile of clothes, or it's just like a scarf or something, or a hat, or, you know, in the dark, especially, because she had a lot of dark colors, so especially at night, I would just, like, I'd see her in the corner in my peripheral vision, And like I would just break my own heart every day. Because like I would think I'd see her, I would think I'd hear her. I remember, so when I met Tess, they didn't know her birthday. They didn't know when she was born. They didn't know how old she was. So I just kind of always went. They said she was somewhere between like 8 to 12 months old. So I went, okay. She was born sometime in February or March. So for her whole life, I would celebrate her birthday. I would just shower her in gifts and stuff for like all of February. I remember I was making my bed um, in February of 2019, so just a few months before she fell ill. She was watching me make the bed. I was making my bed and I was talking to her. I was like, I was being all cute with her. I was like, your birthday's coming up. I sure wish I knew when it was. And she was sitting on my phone and she jumped off. Right after I said that, she jumped off and my phone, she had opened the calendar on my phone and that it landed on March 1st. So I was like, you've never actually had a birthday, like a date. So March 1st. And that's just a cute little story I thought I'd throw in. She was just the best. Like, she was so like antisocial, just like me. We would just stay inside and we would just stay inside. Like I'd be texting or something. I'd be dorking around on my phone and she'd just be near me and we would just be hating the world outside together. And I don't know. There's nothing I didn't really want to do this initially. Like, I wanted to make this video, but like I'd keep going back and be like, I don't even know what I could say that could like recapture the moments. And I don't even know if like I could like get through a video, like it's so hard to even think about that. Like, I have to distract myself and pretend that I never knew her in order to function properly some days. I remember there was a Louis C.K. Bit where he's talking about pets, and he's talking about like, oh, pets are amazing, pets are great, but really, what is it? Really, it's like, it's, with like I think he used dogs in his example, but he was like, it's like 7 to 10 to 12 years of happiness and friendship, and then loss. They don't live very long, so it's like, what actually are you doing when you get a pet? And I agree, but that's not all you should be focusing on. I'm so glad I got to know her. That's what I was saying earlier. I don't even know what I could say that could recapture everything. I said earlier that everyone's pet is the best. Well, Tess was a legend in my world. And, she, there's no way that I could leave. there's no way I could like share with you like every little moment. There's no way I could like why make this video except for just for myself, if all it's gonna be is just like whoever else is if you're watching, you're just hearing somebody and their cat. Like you never knew her, so I don't blame you for not totally getting it. So my mom kept in touch with the clinic that I took her to, and they had her cremated. What's this? And they had her a thing made. I don't know if you can see it right. I didn't see this stuff up until maybe a month ago. I went, let's see, 9 months without, because there was no way I could handle looking at this, right? Like, I just told my mom, like, can you please hang on to it? I can't have it right now. Maybe for like Christmas or something. Well, she gave it to me in February, and yeah, this is the first time I'd seen it. I want to end this with something I wrote. I don't know, I'll just start. The way it began and the way it ended was almost prophetic. I picked her up off a cold, sterile operating table, and I put her down on a cold, sterile operating table. I don't think there have been many things that have touched me as a person, and Tess came into my life and left. Tess came into my life and left my life, each with a blinding flash of light, with everything in between being unforgettable. Tess's final days were underscored by fear and reflection. Her final hours were a brutally honest farewell, but not one that needed to be explained. There were no words, only the unique and powerful elements beautifully constructed from one's appreciation of a lifetime of who Tess was. Someone who never once said a word to me, but still asked to take the journey with her. And at the end of that journey, she gave me purpose. And even her death was meant to further her story. I spent what would be her 13th birthday applying for college courses to become a veterinary technician. Tess, you were a piece of my life so big that when you left, I hardly recognized the world. We found each other when we were both at our worst. We'd stay inside and hate the world outside together. We'd share meals, talk all night until the sun rose. You'll always be the girl for me, but you were never mine enough to keep. That kind of a connection doesn't come around for me often, but I'm glad that I can say that I once had one. One that I couldn't explain even if I wanted to. You've been there during every heartbreak I've had, I could have the worst day, and I know that you'd be at home waiting, ready to lick my face until it bled. I've spent so long dating, meeting people, looking for a partner that I could connect with, and I realize now that it was you. It was always you. You weren't like the rest. You weren't like what the rest of the world had to offer. You were never toxic, called me names, or mistreated me. You are my equal. We've saved each other's lives several times. I don't know what else to call that other than love. So let this be one more night that I bid you farewell. I know this won't be the last time I do. It's the end of another night and the end of an era for me. Now comes the hard part, stepping forward into a new day without you.